It is impossible to talk about Asian cinema without referring to the influential Hong Kong director Chang Cheh, known as the Godfather of action films. With almost 100 films under his belt, Chang transformed Hong Kong action cinema into a universe dominated by men, characterized by sudden deaths and brave and bloody final battles. His heroes, far from being cowards, faced death standing up, with open arms, clenched fists and eyes wide open. Chang Cheh was a prominent Chinese filmmaker, screenwriter, lyricist and producer, active mainly during the 1960s, 1970s and 1980s. Throughout his career, he directed more than 90 films, most of them produced at the Shaw Brothers studio in Hong Kong. His works are mainly characterized by being action films, especially of the wuxia and kung fu genre, known for their high violence content. In the early 1970s, Chang Cheh often cast actors David Chiang and T. Lung in his films. Towards the end of that decade, he worked primarily with a group of actors known as the Venom Mob. Furthermore, Chang Cheh is famous for his long collaboration with the writer Ni Kuang. After earning his degree in politics from the National Central University, Nanjing University, in Chongqing, Chang moved to Hong Kong, where he began his career as a film critic. Chang began in the film industry as a screenwriter, with his first screenplay, Girl's Mask, a Shanghai film released in 1947. After writing several more screenplays, he made his directorial debut in 1949 with Happenings in Ali Shan. His first big hit was One-Armed Swordsman in 1967, the first film in Hong Kong history to gross 1 million Hong Kong dollars. This film launched actor Jimmy Wong Yu to stardom and established Chang as one of Hong Kong's most prominent directors. The Hong Kong film industry, it is said, did not realize its own identity until it consciously severed some of its ties with the mainland Chinese film industry. This included the rejection of Mandarin in favor of Cantonese and the adoption of more Hong Kong-specific themes rather than the universal themes of mainland China. For this reason, experts such as Stephen Teo point to films such as Michael Huey's comedy, The Private Eyes, 1976, as a significant turning point. His cinema was characterized by sagas full of blood and noise, centered on swordsman knights who fought ruthless oppressors or almost inexhaustible invading hordes. It was an experimental cinema, exploring new and sometimes strange directions that often reflected the trends of the time. His cinema represented change, with modern violence and bloodshed in historical contexts, told in spectacularly violent and visceral ways. His cinema had a brutally raw power, overflowing with energy and authenticity, with heroes who meted out justice until their last breath. It was a gory, comic book-style kung fu film that remains popular among martial arts film fans to this day. This is the cinema of excess. This is the cinema of revenge. This is Chang Cheh's cinema. Chang Cheh, like his contemporary King Hu, was not a typical member of the Hong Kong film industry. However, his films are considered emblematic of Hong Kong cinema. Chang was an unparalleled master of the martial arts genre and one of the most prolific directors in history. At the height of his career, he directed up to 8 films in a single year, as occurred in 1972. Despite creating works as impressive as The New One-Armed Swordsman in 1971, he did not allow himself to rest, releasing that same year other classics such as The Duel and Duel of Fists, as well as King Eagle and The Anonymous Heroes. When he died in 2002, cinema lost one of its great, under-recognized talents and a pioneer in fast, low-budget production with high entertainment. No wonder the Shaw Brothers, known as Hong Kong's Hollywood of the East, employed him for nearly 3 decades. Chang frequently collaborated with screenwriter Ni Kuang on screenwriting and sometimes co-directed films with other directors such as Bo Hok Lee, Wu Ma and Gui Chi-hung. He also ventured into composing music for his films. In addition to his film work, Chang wrote novels, poetry, and articles under various pseudonyms. Influenced by filmmakers such as Akira Kurosawa, Hideo Gosha, Sergio Leone and Sam Peckinpah, Chang incorporated elements of their styles into his own work, transforming Hong Kong cinema. His fencing films of the 1960s, such as One-Armed Swordsman, full of bloody scenes where the hero fights numerous enemies, were initially seen by Westerners as violent, but today are considered masterpieces of the genre. How interesting. Tiger Boy, 1966, directed by Chang Cheh, was a black and white film that marked the beginning of his successful collaboration with Shaw Brothers. Although it was never re-released or released on DVD, a copy is preserved at the Hong Kong Film Archives. That same year, Cheh directed The Magnificent Trio, a remake of Hideo Gosha's Japanese film, Three Outlaw Samurai, 1964. This film featured Jimmy Wang Yu, Lo Li, and Cheng Lei, and became an example of the popular chivalrous swordsman genre of the time. But let's go back a decade. After dedicating himself to the theater for much of the 1940s and 1950s, Chang wrote the screenplay for The Cruel Heart of My Man, 1956, starring Li Mei. The success of this film led to Chang Cheh being invited to Hong Kong to write a new work for Li, which he did with Wildfire, released in 1957. However, Chang did not make significant inroads in the Hong Kong film industry. For a time, he supported himself by writing film reviews, a column for a Taiwanese newspaper, and romance and martial arts novels, all under pseudonyms. The use of these fictitious names complicates the investigation of his life and work. Biographical information on Chang is at best inconsistent and at worst incomplete. Several sources even disagree on his date of birth, 1922 or 1923. These historical gaps may be because, until recently, Chang was not taken very seriously. We probably won't know much more about Chang's, and others, lives until some researcher delves into the Shaw Brothers archives. Chang's career can be divided into several stages, each marked by collaborations with different actors, many of whom became stars thanks to him. In the first phase, his numerous films with Wang Yu stand out. Beginning in 1970, Chang began a fruitful collaboration with T. Lung and David Chang, beginning with Vengeance. T and Chang's versatile and charismatic performances catapulted them to fame. T, known for his work in John Woo's A Better Tomorrow film series, had a friendlier appearance, while Chang was distinguished by his intensity and seriousness. Their performances, sometimes supported by Chin Quan Tai's strength and acrobatics, as in Blood Brothers, complemented each other perfectly. Whether as allies or enemies, their films radiated an unmatched energy and chemistry. This chemistry reached its highest expression in The New One-Armed Swordsman, where the revenge plot, common in Chang's films, is presented especially vividly, with a mutilated Chang seeking to avenge the death of T, brutally murdered with chains. Chang continued to collaborate with T and Chiang during the 1970s, a period in which Shaw gave him the opportunity to develop a promising young woman. Fu Sheng, also known as Alexander Fu Sheng, was one of the first members of the Shaw Training Center for Young Actors and Actresses, standing out as one of the most successful until his tragic death in a car accident in 1983, at the age of 28 years. Fu Sheng, with his youth, attractiveness, and acrobatic skills, brought a touch of freshness to Chang's works that his previous collaborators had failed to achieve. His films with Chang, such as Chinatown Kid, 1977, and The Brave Archer, trilogy, 1977-81, catapulted him to fame. In The Brave Archer, the scripts become extremely complex, with characters constantly intersecting and new characters appearing and disappearing almost without warning. The plots became increasingly intricate in his later works, becoming almost incomprehensible. Is this a sign of incompetence? Can we consider Chang a great director? Chang's rejection of clear, simple scripts does not reflect ineptitude, but rather shows a director with higher priorities. It is crucial to remember that Chang operated within one of the most advanced film industries in the world, Hong Kong, in the 1970s. Shaw's films were shown throughout Asia, Australia, and North America. To appeal to a global audience, one obvious option was to create compelling, universal stories. Chang's films have a kind of universality similar to folktales. However, another strategy was to capture the mass market by showing attractive men with incredible martial arts skills, wrapped in the blood of their adversaries. Added to this are the vibrant colors and elaborate production designs, which became one of Chang's hallmarks, explaining the great success of his films. Many of Chang's best films were choreographed by Lau Carliang, also known as Lu Chiaoyang, one of the studio's greatest martial arts talents, who would later become a very skilled director. Lau was noted for recognizing and harnessing the natural abilities of Shaw's most talented actors and acrobats. His choreographies in Chang's films are complex, extensive, and full of impressive physical displays. It is a testament to Chang's talent that, in most cases, he allowed the fight scenes to play out in long shots and with enough time to fully display the physical potential of the fighters. The combat scenes in Chang's films, whether hand-to-hand or with swords, axes, batons, flying guillotines or other weapons, are simply impressive. Chang's work includes a clear subtext of admiration for the male form, which contributes to the emotion of his fight scenes. His camera affectionately shows muscular and physically gifted men, who star in his films. Additionally, their stories often focus on friendship and male loyalty, with the male code of honor as a recurring theme. Although Chang also made excellent films with female protagonists, such as Golden Swallow, 1968, with Ching Pei Pei, he seemed to have a penchant for exploring masculinity in his films. Chang was known to be gay, which adds an interesting perspective to his work. In Chang's career, Fu Sheng's period coincides with the cycle known as the Five Venoms. During this cycle, the Shaw Brothers Company was looking to promote new talent, and Chang, with his experience in discovering new actors, was the logical choice for this project. The new performers, Kwa Choi, Lu Feng, Lo Meng, Chang Cheh, Sun Qian, and occasionally Lo Li and Wang Lung Wei, transformed martial arts cinema forever. Several of the Venoms, named for their participation in Chang's film The Five Deadly Venoms, 1978, where they played martial artists with nicknames such as Lizard Venom, Scorpion Venom, Toad Venom, Centipede Venom and Snake Venom, also appeared in Chinatown Kid and The Brave Archer, alongside Fu Sheng. After Fu Sheng's death, they were ready to take their place in the hearts of the public and at the Hong Kong box office. Including The Brave Archer and Chinatown Kid, Chang directed 14 films with the Venoms, 7 of them in 1979. Among these are some of his most notable and Baroque works, terms that are often synonymous with Chang. One of the most notable is Crippled Avengers, 1978, which represents a complete synthesis of Chang Cheh's style. On May 30, 2002, he was admitted to Chiang Hospital due to a pulmonary hemorrhage. At 7:30 a.m. on June 22, he died of pneumonia at the age of 79. He had no children and was survived by his wife, Liang Licheng.